I was like waiting for you to try something. Like...
All right, welcome to BrownCast Ultra. You might have noticed that we have not made a new episode in quite a while. We've been very busy with bullshit. You know,
Just like it's like we've been very, very busy. But we everything we did was complete bullshit.
But so we are starting a new direction with BrownCast Ultra. This was mostly inspired because Kyle is going through film school now, and I've completed it with fairly recently. And we kind of thought we want to take you, the audience, with us on a journey. And this journey is about filmmaking. It's about the process.
But not filmmaking in the way you might think of it. This is filmmaking in the way of like people getting started in filmmaking. This is the untold story.
Yeah. So in future episodes, you're going to start hearing stuff about kind of getting into the business, learning stuff, and you'll be learning things with us as we're making productions and working on projects of our own. You'll be coming along with us for the ride, and you'll hear about the things we're learning and the things we've experienced. So that's something to look forward to. And for those, if anyone is, kind of wanted us to talk about movies, we'll always still talk about stuff from time to time, but it's always going to pertain to what we're doing.
Yeah, there are a lot of people out there that review movies and TV shows. And I think that something about this that kind of drew us to it is that maybe this is something that we can, this is something that we can provide people that they're not just gonna get anywhere. I mean, we're here to like tell you, because we're a couple amateur filmmakers. We have by no means made it or have any kind of connections or anything. Like we don't have parents that work in the biz.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. We're doing this the way that people always dream about doing this, and God damn it, if it's not an adventure.
So stick with us, listen to our journey, and this is episode 1.
Yeah, the new episode 1, for sure. So, I mean, I can also say, if for any of you that are not aware, you can, we have been putting out a lot of our little films on the channel, BrownCast Ultra. We've been doing kind of a show that parodies / draws inspiration from the different films of the current month or
months or whatever.
Like current movies. We try to keep it current, and so you can kind of see what we've been working on till there, and then that'll be a lot of what we talk about, because it's a lot of the projects we work on are to get them onto that channel so that everyone can see it.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess I was going to start off with, because as Alex said, I am currently in film school, and I spent a lot of time over this past year while I've been doing it, kind of researching different film schools and different approaches to film school, and I see lots of people ask about it, and I lots of people are very interested in this field, but good solid information is actually really hard to come by for that. So I thought I could take this opportunity to clear a lot of things up about film school. So like for instance, one of the first things I wanted to talk about and bring up is that there's really two different kinds of film schools, mainly two different types of film schools. You have your art schools and your trade schools. And this is all over the country. You have your film schools that are more like art schools, and you have your film schools that are more like trade schools. I go to a film school that is at a trade school. It's a vocational college, and so we're going to talk about the differences a little bit. But that's what I'm in. It's a 2-year program it's an associate's degree, an associate's in the arts. A good example of a film school that's more like an art school would be like maybe like NYU Film School, or you want to get hardcore like Full Sail or the Art Institute. I don't know if the Art Institute has a film program, but I know things like Full Sail and California Arts.
Yeah, Cal
Arts. Yeah. So those are your art school. Usually a lot of the 4-year degree schools that do have a film program are more geared towards an art school approach to it. Yeah. Now, what is the, you might be, at this point you might be wondering, what is the difference between like a vocational film school and an art film school? Now, so the vocational film school that I am involved in is really about getting people a little bit familiar with the equipment and kind of working on a set and doing different things. It's kind of like getting you ready to work as any kind of certain job on a film set. And you learn a lot about some of the more technical aspects of the thing. And this is because vocational schools, vocational schools and trade schools, they are really based around getting people into jobs, and so they use this theory in order to like have these kinds of film schools. And it's a little bit counterintuitive because you can't just get out of there's no film school where you can just leave there and you automatically get a job. That's not a thing that happens. I mean, it can happen, sure. You know, if you're Brett Ratner and somehow Steven Spielberg sees your short film or something and gives you a bunch of money to make a new film, like, it's totally happened in the past. But,
statistically, you probably
it's very similar to, playing basketball and becoming like LeBron James. Like it's like crazy. Like, it's not gonna happen. Like, like, don't count on that happening. If that does happen, that's a great surprise, right? Don't count on that happening. So no film school, but there are often different approaches. So I go to like the more vocational one. So I am in classes, like I took a class that taught me how to edit on Avid, which is the industry standard for editing software. I took a couple semesters. I'm currently in a semester now of cinematography, so learning how to compose shots and how to properly do camera movement in order to make it look good. They put a huge emphasis on what they call the invisible technique, which is very prevalent in mainstream commercially sold movies. They do not teach alternative technique. So some of your more art house films and the styles they employ, and that is not taught in a vocational school. And there's not as much emphasis put on writing and storytelling, although there is a writing class. So, you get at least one, and everybody always has at least one, but the emphasis is put on that. Now the art school side. So from what I have read, is that yes, it is very similar to an art school. The curriculum is very specific in intricate ways. And it is almost a reverse of what the vocational school that I was talking about, where there is a lot of emphasis put on things like storytelling and like classic movies and different. It's film theory, which I find that, and maybe this is my bias, but I find that people often think that film theory means a lot more than it actually does. Actually, a lot of what makes film is the technical aspects of it, which something that I go to, like a vocational school, is, very useful for getting you started with that. And this is kind of where I was going to go to next. So, as far as maybe like the pros and cons of going to film school, which lots of people ask. Well, I would start off with saying, and I think Alec will agree with me on this, you should never take out loans for any kind of art school.
Yes.
Like, and we are past the time in history where that is a good idea.
Yeah. So, I would say this, to throw a concept in the ring here. If you're thinking of going to school, here's a good lesson for film school. So, there's a key difference between me and Kyle. I started film school when I was much younger than him. I started about when I was close to 20. And Kyle started here recently.
Yes.
And he's had a lot more life experience.
I was 26 when I started. I was 25 when I started, actually.
I didn't want to give it away.
my elderly...
You're so old. No. So the thing here
We're
is,
talking
if you're
about the film schools.
if you're,
I don't know how I became Christopher Walken in my old age, but
you did. If
film
you
schools are nice.
Film schools are nice. So, if you're a younger person, one thing you should definitely keep in mind, or two things. One, you have to take film school. You have to treat it like a job. And younger folks, I was that person. Did not treat it like a job until I got well into the program. And with a lot of these programs, there is a skill hike. And you'll hit a class where you'll have someone requiring a lot more from you.
Oh, so you mean maybe something more like a difficulty hike?
Yeah, that's what I say.
Yeah.
And
you're absolutely right.
That's what burns out a lot of people their first time through, is they're not prepared for that because they get out of high school or something, or they go to these trade schools. And let's face it, a lot of these trade schools, the other classes that are not part of your degree are usually kind of easy.
Yeah.
So you go through all these, and then you hit this difficulty spike on something, and it's always some program. It's always one course that really hits you.
Yeah, usually it depends on the person. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like whether the different... There will be some course that, like, really gets you. For some, it's writing. For some, it's editing is a big one. Like, a lot of people, like, editing is just way too difficult to learn in such a short time for them. And, some it's, like, cinematography or lighting, you know, so...
Yeah. And the other important thing, too, is if you're younger... being in film is not a race. It's a lot of people will get so wrapped up in trying to overextend themselves to seem amazing out of film school. And like Kyle said, when you leave film school, you're not going to leave with connections. I mean, honestly, most people are just not going to care what you did in film school unless you go to a very prestigious film school.
Yeah.
So the trick there is, it is not a race. So and this kind of goes into taking loads. If it goes between you stretching out a program, like I did this, my 2-year program, I stretched it out to 3. And the reason I did that was because it was a little less work and a little less money. But because it was a little less work and a little less money, I had more freedom to focus on the important parts of the program. Because once you get through your first courses where they teach you the basics of filmmaking, a lot of it's on you. And you have to have that freedom. And if you're trying to pay off loans, or you're overloading in classes, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. I will say, like, really the ultimate benefit of film school for me is definitely that once you learn a lot of the basics, it makes it way easier to learn the advanced techniques on the internet.
Yes.
Or by reading books about filmmaking.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, you're not going to learn any kind of advanced anything in film school.
Yeah.
No matter what film school you go to. And different film schools and different film students will tout their own curriculum as, really, really great or something. But in the end, you're not learning any kind of advanced techniques. You really learn that from doing things on the internet and working on your own project. I mean, to a certain extent, no film teacher is ever going to teach you all the greatest things you need to know, because then you become competition, and it's a very competitive business. So
yeah.
Honestly,
I telling them anything either. Yeah, turn it off.
I think people don't want to see that in their film professors, but that is definitely there.
It's definitely
for sure. So,
Kyle, what would you say to people? What would you say is one of the biggest like mess ups with people getting into, like, what's the one thing that people are the most ill prepared about film school?
Things people are the most ill prepared for. Oh God!
Or the things, or a better way to phrase it is like, what are some things that students don't do that they really, really should be doing?
Yeah, sure. And this is the surprising one that people don't seem to do very well, but watching a lot of movies.
Yes, I was.
It's surprisingly difficult for some
also,
people.
They don't watch a lot of movies happening now.
Well, that is a huge problem. Yes, I mean, you got to watch your classics for obvious reasons, but it's also very important, I think, to be keeping up with what people are doing in filmmaking and currently in the present day, because it keeps you caught up. I mean, a lot of what film schools teach you are film techniques that that have been employed for a very long time, but as we are approaching really an age where technology is just advancing in just an exponential rate, people are doing things a little bit differently now, and that's only going to be a bigger divide, between like what they teach you in film school, which are like the basics that people have been doing since the 60s and 70s, compared to now when we're really getting into the digital age of filmmaking.
That's a big one now that I think of it. I've not heard of many film schools that talk to you about like a blue stage or a green stage.
Yeah, exactly. That's all stuff you have to learn by experience.
I mean, there again, it's like, what's the difference between a blue screen and green screen? That's stuff they do a lot of. I've not heard of very many places that teach that kind of stuff. And
so, the other thing I would say is, and seems kind of counterintuitive, but reading.
God, no one reads anymore.
Yeah, I know no one reads anymore, but you gotta read. I mean, if you want to tell stories in any way, and that's the thing, you have to read what you want to do. So if you want to do fiction and you want to tell fictional stories, you have to read fiction. There's no other way.
Yeah,
you're never going to learn how a story is, probably because the thing about reading that makes it different from anything else is because reading is the only, like, reading books is the only real exercise for your imagination. It's the only thing you could do where you're reading it and you're having to form all of the images in your own head, which, when I say it like that, you realize, like, the ability to, like, read something and form the image in your own head is, like, the basis of all of filmmaking. Is being able to visualize and then try and turn it into reality, and that's what you do. But if you don't have this, because I gotta tell you, when you work on student projects, all these people that say this, like, they have this script and they've had this script for 6 months, and it's like, oh, how do you want this to look? I'm like trying to light something for them. It's like, how do you want this to look? And I'm like, I don't know how I want it to look. And it's just kind of, you have to know, like, what you're going for before you start going for it.
Yeah.
So,
and I've got another caveat to that. I think if anyone wants to do anything in the art departments, which is like your sets, your costumes, your props, that kind of stuff, I think two things, and I've met some people who have, like, wanted to do that and they wanted to be on sets and stuff, and I would argue You know, granted, I'm not a master of sets, so I could be entirely off base. But I would argue it behooves you to learn the language of art and color.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, because if you're, you know, being able to express, like, okay, I need a character to wear red. Well, what kind of red? What does red mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I look up YouTube videos about Martin Scorsese, and he talks about this a lot of visual literacy.
Yeah.
Learning your visual shorthand. And I gotta tell you, one of the greatest, and this is something that didn't hit me until I was in film school, one of the greatest introductions into trying to learn visual literacy and visual shorthand is Looney Tunes cartoons.
Oh, yeah. There's
because I gotta tell you, guys like Chuck Jones,
yeah,
and
I for life me can't remember.
Tex Avery,
Tex
Avery. It was their job to say a lot with very little.
Yeah, and it's very particularly the Looney Tunes.
Yeah,
that's a big thing. It's like they were
yes.
like the Looney Tunes. Those guys and the style they used, was very very unique in the way it was made. Which honestly, it's one of those things. There again, kind of what we were saying. This goes with the reading too. When you're watching movies or reading books, don't just watch like one type of thing or watch only what you think are the good stuff. You need to watch everything and read everything.
Yeah. In fact, if you watch or read something that's crappy, that's good too, because then you can figure out what makes a book or a movie crappy.
Yeah.
Which is a really good thing to know.
Yeah.
Knowing what not to do is just as important as knowing what to do.
For those who have seen on our channel, we did, reviews for an entire year. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you this, nothing gets your cinematic brain going than looking at a movie and then trying to be like critical and fair, not just saying a movie sucks.
Yeah, but you can't just say that when if you're doing a good, competent review. You can't just say like a movie sucks. You have to. It's like what you have to figure out. Why did I not like it? And I definitely learned a lot from that. Yeah, for sure.
So, to the next question for you. So, what do you think the student mentality? Mainly, the idea is you get lots of students out there who are either competitive. You got the competitive stuff. You have the overconfidence and the, how people on sets will act like, oh, this is what a real movie, quotation marks, would be like.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on that kind of stuff?
Well, okay, so confidence is really important in almost all aspects of life, but especially in art and filmmaking. You have to be confident in yourself, and I acknowledge that. I think as far as in film school goes, sure, it's definitely very difficult working with people that think too much of themselves. Because we're all students in this, and we all think we're right. Sure. But the truth about filmmaking is that it is very much a collaborative effort. Even if you're Steven Spielberg, you're working with all these people that are doing all the different... Steven Spielberg isn't building the sets. He's not designing the costumes, He's not even writing the damn scripts. So it's a collaborative effort, and I think that's what some people struggle with in ways that they don't really realize, is because they think that they're the ultimate authority. And film school is not unlike any other school. There's favoritism. There's I don't know.
There's bums who shouldn't be there.
Yeah, it's all things. I mean, film school is that way. I mean, it's like lots of people have like it's still like college.
Yeah.
You're gonna have professors, and at very least, it's art school. It's all art. So and art is extremely subjective, and you can't teach art without there being this level of subjectivity to it. And so you're going to have professors that tell you everything you do is crap. You're going to have peers that think they're better than you for no reason. And the idea is that you have to kind of learn to work with all this. And the confidence, you don't want to be overconfident because you're still working with people. It's not productive you can't work with people if you look down on them, because you will never trust them to do anything. And so you have to, most people, the truth is that most people are going to try to at least some degree, and really all you can go off of is performance. So
yeah,
but that's what film school is about. You have to try and do lots of different things and meet different people and have them do their thing so that you can learn it and meet people that do good work, because they do good work. Yeah. So, which isn't always how things go, but ideally that's what you should try for.
So on a final question to throw towards you. So what do you think about as far as the idea of, should someone commit to a position like in film school, like if someone's like, oh, I don't want to direct, I'm just going to, all I want to do is lights, or should people even be worrying about that?
I don't know. That is definitely to each his own, for sure. I mean, I can say, like, when you first start out, everybody wants to be a director, but half the people don't even know what a director does. So as it goes by, people will branch off into their different things. If there's like one aspect of filmmaking that you really like and you don't really care for the other aspects, then do that. Power to you. Chances are you'll have an easier time getting a job than someone who wants to be like a director.
Yeah.
So, do what feels right. Try everything, but do what feels right, and put your full effort into all the different positions. Is figure out which one you like. I mean, that's what school's for. Figure out what you like, and if you like a certain department or job, it's perfectly fine to just do that. Be real with yourself.
Yeah.
Don't try to be something you're not, and just do what makes you happy. In the end, it's a job, and
if you
want it to be, you want it to be as enjoyable as possible. So,
Well, any final thoughts on film school for now?
No, probably more to come for sure.